Hey guys, it's Beck and Kristen here, and we're going to talk about horse show nerves, riding, at a show, and the nerves that we get with it. Why, how to kind of manage that and work through, not let it paralyze you a little bit. 'Cause,
Everybody has them. Yeah. From the first beginner riders to the most professional, everybody has them.
I would take a wild guess that like maybe the littlest kids who are just like plodding along right now.
Yes, they don't know the concept.
They don't really know what's going on. It's like wee. Think about like that little mini barrel show that we had here for when we had those little kids on like steel and everything. Just kind of going around.
Yeah, they probably don't, but everybody else.
But it develops.
Yeah, everybody else has them. So today we're going to talk about why we have them and what we do to manage them, and just know that we're all in this together. And nerves aren't necessarily bad. Nerves are self-preservation. And they also drive us to a certain extent. I know for me, it's kind of interesting because when I go to a horse show, I get my horse settled in and I'm nervous just to even see sometimes how the horse is going to react to the environment. And I've really had to change and manifest my mind to think differently because that affects them too. Right?
Yeah.
So, Becca, what do you have? Do you have some like routines that you do at a show, or what do you do to help you with your nerves?
So I don't have any super specific routines right now. I haven't done too much showing, but a lot of what I do is I actually just, I try to get there early, particularly away shows, then you want to go, a day or two early or something, but I tend to just walk the facility in the area, wherever we're allowed to go, and I don't necessarily walk around to look at anything. I just walk around to clear my head, and just kind of relax and just, while I'm letting my horse settle into her place, I'll just kind of mosey around. Eventually I will start looking at, some of the facilities, be like, oh, that's nice. That's a cool looking, flower bed or something, whatever it might be, or just look at some of the stalls, or just, check out some of the horses that are there. Don't touch them or anything, but I just like wave high like a horse,
Yeah. We all have, some of us go inward to deal with our stress and think about, what we need to do, where our horse is at. And then some of us go outward. I've seen people listen to music, right? Some people exercise. For me, I very much have a routine of when I show up, either it's a little bit different if my horse is staying at the show, right? So if it's a multi-day show, like she said, I like to show up before dark if I can help it, get my horse settled in the stall, really work on, okay, this is my project, right? My project is to set up the stall, get my horse comfortable, get them eating and drinking. And I find relaxation in tasks. If I can keep myself mentally busy by doing a task, whether that's feeding my horse, cleaning their stall, cleaning the tack, cleaning my boots, those types of things, that helps me settle because I'm focused on doing something and not, oh my gosh, am I going to fail tomorrow? How am I doing? I've also had to learn how to replace behaviors in my brain, right? Because my brain goes to, I'm really having trouble with my canter pirouettes, or I'm really having trouble with my lead changes, and changing that to be, how am I going to ride those things to be successful, right? Replacing that thought with something else, I find, is really important.
Yeah, and I guess I find that's something that I do too, is like go over the test in my head and like not even necessarily in the arena or where we're going to be riding, but I'll walk it or something, and I'll go over it. And more of the time going over the test for me, it's not even to see like, I'll make note of where I struggle everything. It's just because I'm like, okay, do I have this memorized properly? So I'll go over it in my mind or something, and then I'll look at it and like, okay, yeah, I have it right. Or like, oh, that's a little bit different. Okay, let's make sure I have that.
Yeah.
But I do also want to say and caution to people too and everything as well. Yes, a routine can be helpful and it can help you be calm and everything. be comfortable also having to break that routine.
Yes.
Because things happen.
Oh, 100%. You know? It's horses. It's life. You know, it's life.
And like, if you find yourself like having yourself get frazzled or upset because your routine gets interrupted or something changes and all, then you know that it's actually not necessarily the routine itself, but you were using that as a crutch for that anxiety or whatever
100%.
comes up. And you'll want to work on, preparing yourself for things like that and being comfortable with routine interruptions and changes.
And remember that when you go to a show, every problem that shows up is something that was there previously that you didn't know about. So if a scenario shows up and your horse doesn't react well to it, or you don't react well to it, just remember that's information for you to improve. And we all think that everybody at the showground is so focused on us and, oh my gosh, did you see her ride? She missed that fence, or she missed her distance and she went off course. They don't care about you. We aren't that important, but we have a tendency to think everybody's watching us. They aren't. Yeah. They really aren't. So when you go to a show and you make mistakes, remember that's gathering information for you to be better the next time. That's all it is. And it's really hard to think about it this way, but remember, you're competing truly against yourself. It doesn't necessarily matter so much how you do against everybody else. It's, did you do better than the last time? And even if you didn't do better than the last time, something else came to light that you get to go home and you get to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you do better than last time? Did you, if it's the first time for your horse, did they have a positive experience? Mm-hmm. Did they do the best of their ability? Did you do the best that you could for what you had at the time?
Yeah. But there are some things that are within your control. Showing up early, like she said, right? Rushing is never good. So unless there's a car accident or super bad traffic or something horrible happened, show up early, give yourself time to prepare slowly.
And if you do show up late or you feel like you're late and everything else, just take a breath and do what you need to just, okay, sure, you might not be able to go super slow and you might have to speed it up a little bit, but still calm yourself enough to not rush. Because with rushing, we make mistakes, things get missed, right? You miss a keeper on your bridle or something, or you don't do as well in the braids or something along those lines where it's just small enough that it gets missed, but it's noticed in the show. And that can also too play into your nerves when you're showing everything, because you haven't had that time to get yourself to relax.
And also, don't underestimate the team of people around you that you go to a show with. Have a good, solid, positive environment of people that you travel with, people that know you, that know your horse, that can help you. That's so important. If you're in a barn that's negative and people are putting people down because they had a bad ride and things aren't going well, that is not going to help you mentally prepare and feel good about going into the next round or ever wanting to show again. It's stressful enough and we have to overcome our own nerves to go out and show. And you don't need to be nervous about the people around you. Yeah. Those are things that are in your control. That's what I always...
Support team should be supportive.
Yeah. They should be, right? They should be supportive. They should be helping you. They should pitch in when they see things just need to be done. It shouldn't be, oh, this is my horse and this is me and I'm not going to help anybody else in my barn. That's not okay. When you go to a show or when you operate at a barn, you need to all be inclusive. It doesn't matter who you are, or even if you see somebody else from another barn, you're like, hey, you know what? That person really needs some help. Can I offer? This is the type of environment we want to create, and it does take stress off of you to have that. So don't underestimate the power of having a good support team as well.
Yeah.
And you can prepare ahead of time and practice these things ahead of time, your routine, how your horse is going to react, just by hauling out and going through and practicing the steps ahead of time. So, Mother Nature is going to throw at you different scenarios, whether or not you like it, but you can prepare. And preparing really helps. One of the things I used to do, because I'm the type of person that can get more rattled if I move quickly. And I also noticed that my horse would get super excited. He'd see the trailer come out and he's like, wee, we're going to go to a horse show. And which was great and not great, because then he was like a maniac trying to get in the trailer because he loved going. And for those people that think they don't like to show, there are some that really do. He was one of them. So I would actually bring my trailer up, because I have the luxury of doing that because I'm a barn owner, and I would park it. And I would slowly load my trailer. And it gave me time to look at my saddle pads, look at my polo wraps, make sure everything was in order. Those are things I can control.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, actually. It just made me think of when you're deciding to go to a show, when you're filling out the entrance paperwork and all that and setting everything up. So when you find the show dates and you know what shows you're going to, you're going to plan for that, plan even, a couple weeks ahead to make sure all your show gear is nice, that all your stuff is set up to what you need, your boots, your jackets, your clothes, your stock ties, your show pads and everything else. And it's all clean. It's all ready in a place, because then you don't have to be like, oh, do I have whatever I need?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one less thing to have to really worry about, closer to the show and on show day.
I call it 1% problems, right? So people say, oh, but that's just a small issue. And I'm like, well, if you have a whole bunch of 1% problems, let's say you have 20 of them, right? That's getting ready, checking your horse's feet to see if you have any loose shoes, all of these things ahead of time. Well, if you don't take care of any of that ahead of time, then all of a sudden you have 20% problems out of 100, and that becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So these things accumulate. So take care of the things you can take care of, because like we said earlier, caveats are going to come swooping in all the time. That's just what happens. It's life.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that I have, and I don't think they were going to a show, but I know somebody who was loading their horse up onto a trailer and just, it was a ramp and everything else, and the horse just happened to pull the shoe coming out.
Oh man. Yeah.
And they're like, things happen. Fortunately,
They do.
They were able to get a ferry out pretty quickly and get it on. And like I said, I don't think it was for a show or anything, but it's one of those things. It's you can't actually really prepare for that unless you want to learn how to be a farrier technician.
No, you can't. So you better have had everything else taken care of, because if your farrier can't come out right away, you need to be calling the horse show farrier on the way there saying, hey, I've got a problem. I need your help. So, well, drop your comments below and let us know how you prepare for shows and how you alleviate your stress, and just know that we're all in this together. So thanks so much.